What's up guys, Zaid here, and today I am going to be bringing you guys some branded and Despia rulings. I am not an expert at rulings by any means, just so you know, but I know how to use Facebook, so I'm going to be going through the Judges Lounge group in Facebook, which if you're not in it, you should join it, the Judges Lounge. It's a great place to ask ruling questions and to learn about rulings. And I'm simply going to be typing things like branded, Despia, stuff like that, maybe specific card names into the search engine, and I'm going to learn some rulings, and you guys can watch me learn and learn by extension. So I'm just going to get right into it. This first one that I see, Branded Lost versus Ash. I've seen people talk about this one a lot. Can Ash still negate Branded Fusion? It can. Branded Lost works, they're not showing the text of the card, but the text of Branded Lost is exactly like Magical Meltdown. And you can still Ash under Meltdown because Ash doesn't negate the activation, it just negates the card. If Branded Lost is on the field and the player that controls it activates Branded in red and chooses their target, can Ghost Spell be chained to stop Branded in red? This is a good question, actually. Let's see the answer to that. Yes, Ghost Spell can be activated, but Lost will force the successful resolution of Branded in red. You could still Bell, but it goes through. If Branded Fusion is ashed, are you still locked into summoning fusions? The answer, I think, is yes. Yeah, this is the right answer here. Ash negates the effect, not activation, and the card says the turn you activate the card. So if activation goes through, he will be locked into fusions. Magical Meltdown's worded the exact same as that Branded Lost card, so you can Ash Meltdown, or you can Ash under Meltdown. If you summon Anaconda and send Branded as cost, fusion summon one fusion that lists Fallen of Albaz as material from your deck, using 2 from your hand deck graveyard as material. So they're asking if you use Branded Fusion off Anaconda to summon Mirror Jade, is the own Anaconda able to be fusioned as the link material to summon Mirror Jade? The answer to that is yes. And so yeah, we just got a bunch of yeses. So if you were to use Anaconda, all you have to do is dump Fallen of Albaz, and then you send the Anaconda in order to summon a Mirror Jade. I'm turn player. I, on the end phase, use Mirror Jade, and I dump Albion to grab Branded in red. I then activate the Branded in red, adding back Ad Libium, banishing Mirror Jade and Libium for Dracostapelia, trigger Ad Libium to reborn Mirror Jade. Can player 1 use that new copy of Mirror Jade on the opponent's turn or no? I believe the correct answer to this is yes. So yeah, because it's banished and then comes back, it's now a new card, so it gets to use that effect again. Player A activates Branded Fusion, summons Albion. Player A, Albion Chainlink 1. Player B, Contact C, Chainlink 2. Player A, Branded in red, Chainlink 3. How does this resolve? That seems kind of obvious. Chainlink 3, this adds a card back, Fusion summons. Contact C comes out, Chainlink 2. Chainlink 1, Albion resolves without effect. Oh, and yeah, it would get the effect, but you have to use the Contact C. Yeah, because Contact C, for those of you that don't know, I believe the wording on that is, if your opponent special summons a monster, you could special this card to their side of the field, and then the controller of this card cannot, like, Fusion Synchro Exe. I don't think it says Link. I feel like it was printed before Link, so I'm not sure. But they can't do said thing unless they also use the Contact C. I know online simulators aren't official, but I ran into something weird I want clarification on for real life play. If I use Branded Fusion to summon Allubion, the Branded Dragon, by sending Fallen of Albaz and Goddess with the third eye from deck to the graveyard, Allubion then lets me fusion using the Goddess and the Albaz into a Red Eyes Dark Dragoon, which makes sense because Albaz is the dragon, while Goddess takes the place of Dark Magician. That being said, if Allubion instead summons Lebellion, then I activate Lebellion to effect use my banished monsters. It won't let me make Dragoon off the Goddess and the Albaz despite it having the same wording. Is there a reason why Allubion would let me make Dragoon but Lebellion won't? The substitution effect of cards like Goddess to the third eye can only be applied while in the hand, field, face up or face down, and graveyard. They do not apply while banished or in the deck. That's really interesting. I did not know that. Fusion substitute effects cannot apply while this card's in the deck or banished. What that also means is that if you were to just straight up activate Branded Fusion, trying to summon Allubion, which takes Fallen of Albaz and a light, you couldn't send the light, you couldn't send the Goddess of the Third Eye, which is a light that substitutes, and then another light. So I couldn't go Goddess with the Third Eye and a Snow because I can't use it to substitute as Fallen of Albaz. That's really interesting, and I did not know that. I think this is the first like big thing that I learned doing this. That's kind of sick. How exactly is the interaction between Ash and Branded? Player 1 activates setting should all Wendy is cost. It's not cost. So player B ashes. If you ash the branded opening, they do not discard. If you discard should all with branded opening, it will trigger its effect. But if they ash, you're not discarding. I think we went over this one, but I'll do it again. How does Branded Lost work against Ghost Bell? I want to activate Branded in red on my opponent's turn while Branded Lost is activated. Can they chain Bell to my fusion spell at this point? Branded Lost says the activations cannot be negated that include fusion summoning. But the problem with Branded in red is that its main effect is to add a monster from grave to hand. So I'm not really sure how this works with Bell and Branded Lost. You can always pay cost unless there's an effect in play that prevents activations. So Bell can be activated. Upon resolution, due to Branded Lost, Bell resolves without effect and Branded in red resolves normally. Something really interesting about this ruling here too is that since your opponent can legally activate the cards like Bell and they just resolve without effect, if you know this ruling and your opponent doesn't, it is going to put you very far ahead if you're the one playing this deck because they're going to have wasted a hand trap against you. So if you're playing Branded Lost, make sure you keep this in mind. If you use Branded in red to summon a Guardian Chimera, does it still get its effect since the token was not banished? And if it does, will it count the token when using the send portions of the effect? If you banish a token with Branded in red, you will still be able to activate Chimera's effect fully. It still recognizes it was summoned using monsters on the field, regardless of the fact that it disappears when banished. That's fine to know, actually. If Despia Quartus changes a 5300 attack access code to 0, does access code go to 23 or 53 at the end of the turn? I feel like it goes to 23. If my understanding is correct, it would result in access going back to 23 at the end of the turn, as when two different lingering attack modifiers apply, one being added, one being setting the current attack, the older one is forgotten. That's interesting. It's also interesting that he taught us the Appollousa ruling here too. It's kind of weird that Appollousa goes back to 32 to me. I guess it doesn't negate the effect, it just reduces the attack and then brings it back. But that's kind of cool because most instances when you see Appollousa lose its attack, it just like stays gone. So it's cool that in this one it goes back. At what point are we forced to resolve end phase effects? For example, Sky Striker player has Shizuku on board but no Ray Engrave and has Mystic Mine on board. Despia player has Mirror Jade Engrave that's successfully activated its effect to destroy monsters during the end phase. Also has a monster on board. So there's same number of monsters on board, which would destroy Mystic Mine when it checks, but Striker player wants to keep on board, so wants Mirror Jade to resolve first. How would this play out properly? There's a link in the featured post of this group that explains in deep these kind of interactions and uses Mystic Mine as most of the examples. As stated earlier, Mirror Jade's controller could volunteer to use Mirror Jade's effect before Mystic Mine application, pass priority and let an opponent activate something, or both players could pass their priority to activate anything. In that case, Mine's mandatory effect would activate, ending Mine destroying itself in this scenario. Well, if that occurs, do I then get to use Mirror Jade later or no? The player with Mirror Jade could volunteer to use Mirror Jade before Mine, but doesn't have to. Each player could pass priority until mandatory effects like Mine are forced to activate. Mine would be forced to activate before Mirror Jade resolves due to Mine controller being turn player. Ooh. Mirror Jade's effect to pop is mandatory once activated when it's left the field. So Mirror Jade doesn't have to be used first is what I'm getting out of this. Dramaturge of Despia is used as a fusion summon and as Chainlink 1. It activates its effect in the graveyard to special itself. Then as Chainlink 2, DD Crow's activated target Dramaturge. At resolution, Turge will be banished, but it still specials itself now that it has changed location. But will it special? Oh, and he posted the effect too. This card in your hand or field uses fusion material and sent to the graveyard or banish. You can special summon this card. So before I click it, I'm going to try to guess. I feel like I actually don't know. Like if it's ruled that it can or can't, I wouldn't be surprised. This card refers to the Despia that's in grave. Once Crow resolves and banishes it, it's no longer this card. So yeah, it would not resolve. I need confirmation on Branded in red. I can target a Despia fusion as well as a Despia monster, but it goes back to the extra deck. I can still apply my can fusion summon effect with what I have to offer in hand and field after that, correct? If I'm wrong, please guide me to proof. No, it's a then conjunction. You have to add the card to your hand in order to apply the following effect. Then means do A, then if you did A, you can do B. So basically the gist of that answer is, this guy's asking if I activate not Red Eyes Fusion, if I activate Branded in Red, and I target one of my fusion monsters in grave, would I still be able to conduct a fusion summon with Branded in Red? The answer is no, because it's a then effect that requires you to add a card to hand, and then if you add it to hand, you can conduct the fusion summon. If my opponent activates Branded in Red to summon Guardian Chimera, he activates Chimera's Chainlink 1, Tragedy's Chainlink 2, and Adlib is Chainlink 3, targeting Oliver in the grave, and I chain Pandemonium summoning Battle Butler. He resolves the chain popping Butler. Do I get the special from Butler, and am I able to pop the field? I think you do get the Butler special summon, but you do not have any opportunity where you could use Raigeki. I think against the Despia deck, if you know they've got access to Branded in Red, you might want to, like, with your first action in the main phase, summon out the Butler. Because if you can chain Butler to the activation of Red, then you're going to clear their zones, and they're not going to be able to go into Chimera anyways. They'd have to make something else. Someone else. My opponent has Shifter activated. I normal summon Tragedy. I link off into Anima. Can I activate Tragedy to search? Yeah, because it's banished. If a card says can be used as fusion material, like the Hex Fusions and King of the Swamp, can it replace an archetype card, or does it have to be a named card? In other words, if a fusion monster says Fallen of Albaz plus X, I can replace Albaz, but if it says Despia monster plus X, can it replace the Despia monster? King of the Swamp specifies a card name has to be specifically listed on it in order to use it as a replacement. So you can use it for Prank Kid's Battle Butler, but not Rocket Rider or Weather Washer, because Butler tells you the exact monsters to use, whereas the other two are just two Prank Kids. At this note, I'm going to wrap it up on this. If there are any ruling questions you guys have on the deck, let me know in the comments below. And if you have an answer to somebody's attempt to answer it, like I said, am not, like, the end-all be-all when it comes to rulings. I'm not very good at them, but if you have questions, I know people I can ask, so I'll at least ask the questions for you. Maybe I'll post them in this group. And so go ahead and use the comment section as a place to figure out rulings for yourself. And also check out Judges Lounge if you're not in the group. It's a really valuable resource to have. And thank you guys for watching.